stuff. And it was lovely.
And that's it.
Nice.
No, they made it out.
And then if for some reason this is not in the backpack,
They have their own boats.
if you go to the town of Shebig website under news and announcements, there is.
Yeah, I know, I can find that. But can we, is it possible to have like just a cheat sheet
Type it out.
and put it in the bag that
Yep.
way? Because
Yeah, so then this, you just X this out and it says that it's being live streamed and it's fine. So in like this one, the meeting hasn't started, but I have it on.
So I was just going like 100,000 yards, what I was going. With barging costs.
All right, good. All right, welcome everybody to the emergency town meeting on Saturday, December 31st, 2022. It is 9:04. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Regular business, 22-110 to allow the town administrator or the chair of the board to hire custom floats to assess and or fix Cousins Island float pilings. So we got a picture and notification from Matt Ridgway and his crew. I don't know if you guys have seen all the pictures. Sorry. So there's threaded rods, there's three pilings, and then they're all tied together with some kind of threaded rod. Not sure if this was done during the damage, but during the storm, but the storm didn't help the situation. I'm requesting to have, I'm looking to hire custom floats for their experience, and to see if they can assess to see if there's any more damage done to those pilings. Any discussion? Martha, Carol?
Go ahead.
Has the public works crew been sent over to look at the situation?
Doug has looked at it when he's gone over and stuff. And I know the last time I talked to Chuck and Doug, the last time they had a difficult time, they weren't able to get up there properly for safety. And I think it's mainly an experience thing, not exactly knowing how to approach it.
Mhm. But they did repair it last time.
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. So I talked to two CTC captains, and I talked to the general manager of CTC, Matt Ridgway, and the public works did repair it last time. When it was pointed out to them this time, they both told the CTC that they were not going to be able to get to it. My question is, why were they not asked to go look at it and give a fair assessment of the situation instead of just replying on their own?
Are you asking me? You're looking at me.
Yeah,
So-
anybody that can answer that question.
So Vika was out sick.
I've
so
been
she's
out
been
all
removed.
week.
From what Matt shouldn't approach, or CPC shouldn't approach the town clerk. So I don't know about that part. I can't tell you what they said or anything like that. I don't know. At this point, I'm looking for more of an experienced look at it than having our town clerk.
Yeah, without getting difficult, here's my point. There has to be a system in place. In other words, the town of Shebig owns the float system at Stoneworth that the CTC brought up, and the town of Shebig owns the big float at Cousins, which CTC lands at, and anyone can land at if CTC is not tied up to it. Meaning, we are required to maintain that facility. So with the town administrator and road commissioner, which is both of your hats, because being out sick, CTC has to point it out to someone. So the system has to continue to function for the safety and access of the public, the taxpayers, and the rescue, most importantly of all. And so they had to point it out to someone, so they pointed it out to someone. And there should have been then a repassing on of that message to their supervisor or someone of available to that equivalent is my point.
So
A supervisor.
to answer that question, it was brought to my attention, and that's why we're here today.
Yeah, I understand that.
So,
But the chain of command is important, as you well know, being an ex-military individual. The chain of command needs to stay consistent. And after I sent my email to you and the town administrator and the board of selectmen pointing out the deterioration of the pavement and the rocks over at where it meets the wharf at Cousin, the reply that I got back was, wait and talk about it at the next meeting. And I don't find that to be a sufficient response, and here's why. Every day, there are multiple 10 to 11 trips landing at Cousins Island where people are walking up over the wharf, going to work, going to school, coming over to go to work and going over for appointments. And it's a safety and access issue, and that's our responsibility along with the town of Yarmouth. And that's an ongoing operational relationship that starts with communication. That's all I was asking, was that we communicate the deterioration of that facility to Yarmouth. And the response I got back was, wait until the next meeting under the town administrator's report, which was at least a week away. Meanwhile, Chivik Transportation Company sent an email, Matt Ridgway, the general manager to Yarmouth, saying exactly the same thing that I pointed out to all of you. And evidently, he's got a strong relationship with the town of Yarmouth because Yarmouth immediately responded, and the public works director has gone down, looked at it, and made a plan to fix it. That's the model that I would prefer that this town get to. That's the model that we owe the taxpayer. I'm sorry to be so stern, but I have seen and heard enough in my first 15 years with this town to know that we can operate better than this. So I'm not going to be agreeing to spending money out of our float and ramp reserve to bring in a specialist, quote unquote, to drive 2 or 3 pieces of threaded rod through 2 to 3 piles. Thank you.
So back to your comment that you said there, the difference, and I understand about the CTC part, but the Yarmouth jumping on fixing that, he's a town manager. We have a town administrator. The town manager has the right to spend funds. It is limited to spend funds. Our town administrator is not. It has to go back to the board. Everything has to go back to the board.
I don't agree with that. The public passes a budget every July 1st, and in that budget is a Department of Public Works, floats and ramps, and so on and so forth. And unless it is a capital upgrade, those funds are in there for operational maintenance and operation of those departments to be spent at the will of the town administrator up to over 10% of it. Or how it works.
So, all right. So we're here to talk about if we're gonna hire custom floats. Oh, Carol, I'm sorry, Carol.
Yeah, so I just have a couple sort of mundane questions about this. One is, I don't understand enough about the floats. The fact that these rods are, pulling out, is that an emergency?
No, but the emergency was more or less for the public assistance, the NEMA paperwork.
I get that, but in terms of just sticking to the floats at Cousins. So I think I just heard from Mark that the Public Works Department typically maintains those floats. Right. So I understand that the pilings, what I understand the problem to be is that these rods are pulling out of the pilings.
Yes, on the top of the pilings, the 3 pilings are brought together with 3 rods
So
or tight.
they're not as secure without those rods being
Correct.
installed. So And are you saying
And
that?
as far as it being an emergency or not, I have no idea. I don't do, the marine infrastructure is not my job.
Well, I mean, it's public works job, I guess, right? I mean,
Sure.
this is part of their responsibility. So did they indicate that it's, something that needs immediate attention or CPC or where do we stand? I'm not clear.
I talked directly with Captain Brendan O'Brien, Captain Jeremy Ames, and Captain Amanda Campbell. I spoke with all three of them to get their opinion on that exactly. They all gave me similar answers, Brendan being the most informative because of his experience working with a barging company and marine company for quite some time. What they all said was, it's probably not gonna let the float go and come apart, but the reason for the three pilings being constructed in a dolphin type construction mode is to give the pilings more strength in three different directions when the float torques on it, when the boat hits it in the wind and the float hits it in the wind. Without them being tied together, one of the pilings or two of the pilings, if they're all separated, they don't seem to be, they don't work quite as strong, and the float can move more and the boat can move more. So eventually you'll work the piling out of the boat.
And so did I hear you say, Bo, that Public Works doesn't feel that like they have the capability to fix it?
They have the capability, they're just.
Well, I guess I didn't understand. It sounded like you said that they did not feel
They didn't feel comfortable fixing it. That's the short answer.
because of the accessing it up
So
on the
where
highway.
it is on the pilot.
Or what would that take for someone to fix it?
I don't know, I tried to call Custom Close and I didn't get an answer. Apparently they're closed for the week, so.
And then the other question I have is, what's the evidence? You said, you're worried about them being, having been more damage and you want a full assessment. What's the evidence for that? So what's making you concerned about the security of
The
the
bolts
pilot?
are snapped again. This is the second time they snapped.
So you're talking about the fact that they.
So I'm just wondering if there's an
A better-
underlying issue or a better way to keep them attached, or if it's
So to
if
me,
it's the board's sense to just put some bolts in, then we'll just have the town crew figure out how to do it.
well, to me, it seems like there's two things. One is the immediate need to replace the bolts. The second one is a more comprehensive safety assessment on the kind of the structural integrity. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, if I may.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think if we can get the things bolted back together, even temporarily, and bring somebody down that may be more experienced in building or installing wharfs and piling, and maybe there's a heavy duty galvanized or stainless steel chain or strap that they can put around there to help the bolts, that probably is the long-term serve. But in the meantime, I guess I don't understand the difficulty of it myself, but to look at things differently.
Yeah,
So has Public Works said that they cannot fix it? Is that just by Doug going over, or they have not really assessed it?
they looked at it without actually being right against it.
No, but
Once again, we're asking somebody that does our roads to assess a marine infrastructure. It's just like asking somebody that's plowing our roads to do an inspection on the car.
my only suggestion was, to start with the town crew, and if they need on-island advice, we have a lot of those at the boatyard. And Paul would be happy to advise them on what they need to do to fix it. And start there. And then, you know, as we go on, I think that, maybe our whole float system needs to be assessed to see what needs to, and if they need guidance that way on how to fix things, then yes, then we should look into hiring custom floats to do it. That would be my suggestion.
All right. Are you able to see if there's there's a panelist on
I don't see anything that's.
Nobody is from the looks of it.
Yeah, there's one, but not.
there? Not Bob. All right. All right. There a motion on the table or no motion on the table? Mark?
I'll make a motion to direct the town administrator / road commissioner to instruct the town road crew to go over and attempt to bolt the pilings back together, even if temporarily for now, cutting down to it.
There's a second? Second by Jen.
And just add that if they need any advice on how to do it, contact.
All right, any other discussion?
This might be a funny thing.
Are you okay with her amending?
Yeah, I'm fine. This might be a funny thing to say, but temporarily, if someone thinks it needs a strap around the top, we could sacrifice a come along. See how long that would go.
All right. We'll vote, all in favor? All right, all opposed? All right, moving on to the second item, 22-111, to discuss storm damage and take any necessary action. So I got a paper from, I can't remember her name, but basically it's FEMA, to get a sense of how much damage was done in the individual counties on this last storm. This is to go to either the state or federal to find out if there's a declaration made, disaster declaration, I think it's called. I went out with once again, vehicle 6. So me and the public works crew went out and looked at mainly the roads, just had a little bit of erosion on the edges of the road, which mainly happens when we have a big rainfall anyway. But there are some areas that got hit. Mainly the ramps going to the beach on the south side of the island. You guys got the list. I'll just go through it real quick. I do have some pictures of these items. Basically, I'm looking for some direction from you guys if you want us to move ahead with these. Nothing in this paperwork is concrete. We can adjust anything you'd like. Just want to have some sense if you guys want to apply for it or not. And then we'll so I don't have a completed one, but Willow Street, towards the bottom by Hamilton Beach, there was some riprap prior, and then the roads at the end of it pretty well washed out. After I looked at it with Chuck, we decided to fill the hole briefly with some riprap, cover the top to level out the parking area once again to where it was with some gravel. Anything else? You want to discuss that one? All right, moving on. Went to the end of Soul Road. There is some steps that go down to the beach there. There's a few large rocks. I don't remember how the bottom of that step was to start with, so I can't tell you if something moved or not. But I think if even just by hand, moving some of the flat rocks that are there to create a landing at the bottom of there would be an easy solution to fix that area. The ladders are still, the step is still there, everything seems solid. Carol?
You're on number 3, Waldo Point.
I'm going through my list just to tell you that I went through and looked at all of the, I'm sorry, I didn't print this off for you guys. But these are all the public,
That's fine.
access points to the beach.
Okay,
So we all own all the way to a certain point on the beach on these.
and
I
so
asked
steps
Donna.
are something the town typically maintains?
Correct.
Okay.
And then there's a couple missing on here. There's Hamilton Beach, which is essentially Willow Street. And Homey Cove. That is not on the, which essentially is South Shore Drive. So we went to Fenderson Road, which is down here. There's slight erosion. Not knowing, once again, not knowing exactly what it looked like prior. I talked to Donna. Donna stated that there was some miscellaneous material dumped down there at the beach by the town crew some years ago. But there's no proper steps or anything there, so no action there. Central Landing. There's some erosion on the, I wrote down on the ramp, essentially. A little bit on the road, but mainly on the ramp side, on the bottom side of it. Our suggestion was basically 5 to 7 yards of gravel to overlay the rocks that are exposed. Rose's Point, nothing. Everything seemed fine. That's the point between Bob Ernest and next to Bob Ernest that goes to the beach there. So there was nothing found there. Waldo Point Road, which is straight ahead. The point, at the end of the road, straight ahead, slight erosion, but there's no recommendation to fix that. I'm sorry, you stop me anytime.
So Rose's Point.
Yeah.
At what point are we able to get it back to where it was? Because now, instead of a relatively easy walking path, it's now like a, it's a
Which-
big drop off.
Which one?
And is,
The boatyard?
no, is it down on the end of Rose's Point, is that not?
Yeah, this is my next one. Which one? The one straight ahead? Or the one towards next to Champagne? The one next to Champagne used to have steps.
This is the one, on Rose's Point.
You're
right?
talking Waldo Point.
Well, yeah, Waldo Point. So these are our beach access. So,
Okay, so
Rose's
down
Point-
here is private and we can't do anything about it.
correct.
Thank you. Okay, that's all I
So
needed.
this one here is by Champagne.
Yep.
And this one here is straight ahead. This one here didn't have any damage. It had a little bit of erosion.
Yep.
But that was it. But that Waldo Point, the one that circled, used to have steps apparently, and they're no longer there. So, I put in approximately, not knowing the exact cost of everything, $500, to replace either 4 to 5 steps. Using pressure treated, obviously with, DEP permission to do that. Any question? Mark?
If you're trying to get a permit to put in steps anywhere on the shore, I would suggest that you consider getting permission to anchor the steps into the bank and not just set them there, because Mother Nature can be cruel even when they're anchored.
Yeah, okay. I went down to Jenks. Okay, go ahead.
Once you're done, I'll ask a couple.
That's all right.
No, it's better at the end. I thought you were done with your.
No, I'm just going through the whole.
Yep,
all
go
of
ahead.
the-
Go ahead.
So Jenks Landing Road, there's erosion at the end of it. We're thinking, 18 yards. the whole parking, not, the whole parking area is gone, or got washed through down at Jenks Road. Which we found out earlier this year that we do not own that parking area. So this is not the cost of replacing that parking area. This is solely to replace the end of that road, which has, rocks there and has, thank you very much. Not enough coffee this morning. So we're suggesting 18 yards of gravel just to level up the end of that. Obviously, if either any of you want to up the yardage on this or anything like that, it's just a rough estimate on how much. Coleman's Cove, which is South Shore Drive. There's erosion on the side of the road, and then the ramp itself at the bottom is all pretty well gone. So we're thinking possibly 7 yards of gravel just to try to level up the bottom of that beach and see if we can bring it back. A little bit of grading on the road. That's a suggestion.
Could I ask a question about South Shore Drive specifically? Has anybody gone down onto the shore, go down the access road and walk over towards the ledges, towards Cox Chapman's new wharf, and look at the banking to see how it's holding up down in there?
Well, we have.
Yeah, I have not.
Yeah,
That's
we
one
all
thing.
lost
Did it get washed out badly?
yes, yes, all
I'm very concerned about the safety of vehicles over that spot that is dropped.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's close, maybe 6 feet from that edge to the
So I'm
road.
sorry, we didn't look, I guess we looked at it.
Oh,
And I know years ago, excuse me, Carol, I know years ago, Cumberland was, I guess, allowed to make an effort, and there was some rocks that held for a while. But evidently it went up over the top of them this time. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go look at it and make some recommendations for this. Yep.
So can I just make sure I understand, you're worried about the road stability
Yes.
of the road itself?
Yeah.
So that's a pretty significant.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other comments? Eric?
Yeah, so, Indian Point Road,
Yeah, I'll get to that. That'll be the last one.
okay,
Bennett's erosion. Bennett's Cove, there's erosion on the road. And then the rocks are all exposed and stuff. So we're suggesting 18 yards to level out the pad at the bottom there. Division Point Road, straight down Division, there's no issues there. Steps are still there. Everything seems fine. Curate is a long walk, by the way. There's no issues down there. I didn't see anything visible. Sunset, no issues down there. Pretty much all ledge anyway. Chandler's Cove, figured it was basically normal erosion. Basically, every time we get a storm, the sand moves around and everything like that.
you're talking about the beach?
At the beach area, that there's like that old vehicle access there to the right as you're going there. There was some erosion. Obviously, sand moved around. The ramp was pushed aside, so that's an easy fix. To just put the ramp back. So I consider that no issues. I put on Cousins Island slope, depending on if you're going to try to look for somebody to do it or not. So I didn't know if you guys wanted to put something in there for that. I think nuts and bolts in the town of Google is kind of minimal. So, Carol.
I think if the storm has raised the concern about the safety of the float system, then we should estimate a cost for what that kind of assessment would take. I mean, we're not forced into doing any of these things. We're just trying to estimate what our cost might be.
Correct.
So I would include a cost for professional assessment, if you think that's necessary.
Okay, so what would you,
I have no idea what that would
I
cost.
don't know either. Do we want to put?
I mean, Paul, I think we could ask Paul, Paul could probably give you a number. I would ask Paul.
Okay. All right.
Could I ask a question about these numbers? Are these numbers basically being put in here for possible reimbursement? Is that the purpose of these? Because
Correct.
this material we're sitting.
We're not sitting on this. material.
Right, so we got a budget. Is
So
that
it's gotta
including
get
the
barred.
barge
This is
cost
all included in this.
and the labor?
The labor is not.
Well, I think.
That's where I was not sure about public works time and stuff. Do we get reimbursed for that? I'm not.
I think so.
So that's why I'm here.
When
I've
I
never done one
read
of these.
through, when I read through the documentation, it sounds like it's the full quote, includes public, labor, materials, permitting. I mean, there's permitting costs here because we would have to get a number of permits from the DEP. So I think it's a full cost of
Okay.
storm-related damage. And, we can, now that we have the numbers, we can kind
All right. Well, then, me and Vika will go through that on Monday. We'll adjust these costs. You guys are okay with me, public works not working on Monday.
Monday is a holiday.
Holiday, correct. Okay, so we'll,
well, this needs to be in on Tuesday.
no, Monday night. Or you,
You're right.
what did you
Monday.
say? Yeah, that's why we're here. Today,
So it's Monday.
So- because it's due on Monday, and I wanted you guys to be aware of it. Yes,
I suggest you connect with Paul and if he would be willing to kind of
Yeah.
review some of these.
can I
processes.
defer that to Jen?
Yep.
Because I think she has a close relationship with him, and
But
it'd be easier.
If I read the guidance correctly, it's also the labor cost, it's not just the materials cost. So we should be able to estimate that with an hourly rate for the town.
Yeah.
And I would just, this is a ballpark number for now. We want it to be as large as possible within reason, because the goal right now is to get a disaster declaration. We can modify it afterwards.
Yeah.
And so I think better to make sure we include everything and, figure it out later.
So I do apologize, it's taking a little more, Mark.
There's a lot of material in the public works yard. There's a lot of gravel and some crushed stone and some riprap. So why do you say we're not sitting on any of this material?
Oh,
There's probably some of it.
there's probably some. I'm sorry, misspoke.
But I think the estimate could include the cost to bring over additional
No,
material.
I agree.
Right, I think we should include it
Well,
because,
the cost in here is including the bargaining.
right, but I'm just saying
$1,200
that.
per load is including material and bargaining.
Right, so if we have a stockpile, we should ignore that for the moment, in terms of estimating the cost, not that we might not use it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay,
All right, so to Indian Point Road, I talked to Margaret, which is one of the point persons. I don't have her last name, I forgot to write it down. She's kind of iffy if FEMA's gonna give us money, give the town money for a piece of property that's not ours. So all these that I've got down and jotted down, it's all our property. We have rights to it, and it's ours. I did send Ted Ballard, which is part of the IIC, the paperwork for private property. Most of the damage done during the storm was down in the lower part. Which, if you guys remember the zones that we divided, so most of the damage is part of zone 2 and zone 3. So I talked to Bob, which is part of my contact, not contact, but
team,
part of the committee. And he's in agreement that, this is not town, this is private property. We only have a deeded right of way down. So I defer to you guys. Where do you guys think?
The bigger question there is that we're also in a coastal barrier resource system, which you can't use federal money, even though it was used, it's really not supposed to be used to stabilize. So I don't think it will be, doesn't mean you can't get money to do, you can't rebuild, you can adapt. And so I would encourage the Ballard family to apply or to estimate some, whatever, because I think they have some, maybe we're thinking of moving things or whatever.
Yeah.
So I would encourage them to file a claim and then, you can sort of take it from there. But I don't think, for example, rebuilding the seawall would be allowed. So, and I do agree. I don't think the town is not a property owner, so we probably cannot apply.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't think there's the palate for that.
Right.
In this community, especially financially, and trying to beat Mother Nature on that elevation. If I could go back to South Shore Drive for a second, and I'm not just saying this just because you're sitting here, I would say this anyway. We're probably gonna have to be prepared after we look at that to consider having some sort of a design,
Yeah.
some sort of protected design made for the DEP to consider. So I don't know what the proper steps are. Probably the proper steps are to document the damage, report it to the DEP, ask them if they'd like to come down and look at it before we get a design, or how would that go in people?
I think for the purpose of this document, you should estimate a design cost and I would, I think you do need to do that. So I think that would be an extensive project potentially.
So the other thing too, is we need to have it, not only that, but we have to have it surveyed also. Does the town own all the way to the shore on that side of the road? That's a question that,
Right, we don't need to answer all those
but
questions.
I just, no, it's a good point.
But I think the cost would be much larger, 10 grand. I don't know.
It'll be larger.
Right, to sort of deal with that problem.
Design could cost up to that,
Yeah. All right, Jen,
I
hold on.
Ika.
You had a comment? No? Okay, take it.
Just in reference to the South Shore Drive, we do have, records of the last couple of years, some of the property owners in that particular area, monitoring the road getting, or the shore getting closer and closer to the road. So if there's significant damage, I think that, it could be wise of the town, to talk to, or get a rough estimate of, what some of these property owners who've done some shore stabilization over the last couple of years have done, to see what the cost of that, to get an idea, because I think that if it is the damage that, is anticipated, or that you're suggesting, I think that as a town, we're probably looking at doing some major shore stabilization work down there in the near future. So I think with Carol, in line with what Carol was saying, I think those costs are going to be significantly higher. And I think this could be an opportunity for us to put with the, if it's been significant damage, put it with a plan of that in mind.
So I do have a few people I can make some calls to and see how much it costs for them.
Yeah,
To get
and
a
I
rough
would
idea.
just throw a number at it for now. I don't think it's that critical when you have a chance to.
No, but I don't know if it'd be $120,000 or
Yeah,
$30,000.
it could be
I don't know. I
$500,000.
don't know where, yeah, exactly. So,
But I think, that could be a question for Margaret, but I think for the road problem, we're talking hundreds of thousands. So I think we should include that, and we can just estimate it, 200,000, call it good. Then we can refine it. They don't, over the holidays and a week, they don't expect us to get numbers. I don't
And I think it's wise to go up than go under.
Correct.
Where they're gonna just say no.
all right, what do you guys want to put in there?
I'm sorry, could I, what are you suggesting for a shore stabilization project, or rebuilding the road above?
Well, I don't know what it will be, but I would have a cost that would be, no matter what you do there, you would have to, if you
move or rebuild the road. I mean, one option might be to, look at, I don't know, but I think it's a big chunk of change. It's not just the design. I think whatever you would construct to stabilize the road could be very expensive. And
You guys are gonna go look at it, correct?
Yeah, I'll go look at it after this meeting.
I mean, I know you don't have numbers taken away, but that would give you a better idea of what we're talking about.
Yeah, a rough estimate for most of the material that we get from the mainland is anywhere between $68 a yard to about $100.
But I think Nick is right, these shoreline stabilization projects are a good metric to use, and say they were $100,000, I think. we could
You
easily-
know who might be a good person to contact is, the old Putnam House. What are their names? Because they did a whole road redesign, or, they fixed that whole road and they did short stabilization, so they might be able to give a rough estimate of what that cost
Yeah.
entails. Yeah,
Yeah.
to then possibly put in.
So I was planning that there's them, there's two other people that I was trying to, that I might contact, try to get some information from.
But do we have records of what those projects cost in town permits at all? It's a permit by rule with the DEP, so I don't know if they have to estimate the cost. But yeah, you can
Typically,
try.
you have to estimate the cost.
My understanding is that project was closing in on $1 million.
Yeah, I think it was 700,000 or 800,000, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, so
All right.
I mean, I think we have to guess a number. Don't worry about it. Make it big. We can revise it later. But I think we're talking hundreds of thousands, not.
Okay,
I would put in a minimum of $500,000
Yeah,
for now.
all right.
Do you guys happen to have any pictures,
I will go.
days following after the storm of that area?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying right now.
I know,
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, yeah. But right now, I mean, you need to go down to the beach and look, because you can't really get a good sense of it.
I will be going
from the
down
road.
there. I'm sorry I didn't.
I'm sorry, I didn't even think about looking down further, because that's a unique situation, that's the one that's next to the shore. Most of our other accesses are not right on the shore, so it didn't even occur to me to go down there, so, here.
And I just wanted to understand, do we think there's a public safety concern right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we may need to block off the edge of the road or something? Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
you'll see. right
Yep.
in front of you.
So there's one small section where there's maybe like 6 feet of sort of grass, and the rest of it has fallen down, and then it's the road, and,
You can see other cracks too.
I
You're
think
worried about
Surface.
more slide.
Yeah, the
especially if
branches
like
are-
some big trucks keep
Yeah.
coming with big loads of dirt coming
Yeah.
down the road, you might end up off the side of the road.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I'll go look at it
Yeah.
after this meeting, and then we'll most likely include it in this. Yeah, and get it addressed. So I'm gonna go with 500, unless it looks a little more ridiculous, and then I'll probably up it.
Yeah.
So I won't go any less than 500.
Just a good guess. It's okay. It's okay.
All right. All right, so are you okay with, me and the town administrator to, move forward with the information I provided you?
I'd like to help you put, help you guys put whatever.
You can help me how to include the images on this thing? Because, no, I'll send her, I already told her, we're gonna send her a separate email and separate them by, I don't know if the town can send multiple, but on me, it won't allow me to send any more than 5 pictures at a time, or 3 or something.
Let me know what you need and I will.
But most of the information is all put in. Thank you to Kathy, to Chris and Tim for gathering information on all this, so I had a lot of help, and Public Works, sorry. Yes.
So I think on the Cousins Island float,
Mhm.
I would put, you know, safety assessment needed or something like that instead of contracted work.
Yeah, I just.
Right, so, but that's what I would change it to, is sort of safety assessment required or something. And then, on the stone pier, including the floats that are in the water, there was no damage that we're aware of.
The
Large
town
ramp
crew-
or anything.
The town crew didn't notice anything more. So I don't know, they had, I know Chuck went over during the storm, the day of the storm, there was a chain that broke on Chandler's Wharf, Chandler's side. And they got the chain fixed. I don't know how he did it, but he said he fixed the chain. I know there was some, I know that needs some work, so it's not based on the storm. So, we'll talk about it in our regular meeting.
Okay, I mean, it surprises me there was no damage at all, and, but maybe
That day, I mean,
that they can identify, okay.
yeah,
And then the other thing after talking with Margaret is, you know, the cost to clear the roads, cut down the trees, and to clear,
$950. You want it.
Oh.
I do
oh, no,
apologize.
but the cost to clear the trees can also be included, including the labor, but also we maybe should include a cost to go clean them up, you know, instead of just leaving them there, because,
Okay.
you know, so I would come up with, again, maybe Public Works spent a day clearing the roads, I don't know what that cost is, but also if we go back and clean up that wood that's been thrown, you know, to the side of the road, what that might cost. Because during the Patriots Day storm, that was definitely part of the cost.
Okay.
And I don't think we had a lot of trees down otherwise, but if there are, that was part of the FEMA money previous time.
Talking to Chuck, he said he pushed about 20 to 25 trees.
You can put a day's worth of work for 2 town employees, their salary.
All right, Mark.
And if you're trying to include labor and stuff, these numbers are too low.
Correct, no, I did not. That's why we're here. I wasn't quite sure exactly the whole process, because I've never done one of these. So,
Yeah, and as far as the trees on the side of the road, I realize that it gets into, does the tree fall onto private property or is it on the edge of the right of way of the road? But there is a lot of trees laying right against the road, so hopefully they can grab some of those with the machine and get them up to the brush dump and include that time in a reimbursement request.
all right. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, whose responsibility is it to get all of the loose lumber that is now on the beach that could be washed out to sea and crash into boats or whatever? Whose responsibility is it to get that off the beach and out of the way of causing more havoc?
What I know is Mother Nature.
Mother Nature.
Well,
Okay.
most of it is like
You
the
can
end
solve
of the
it.
road on the way, you know, like,
That's right.
it's all right there.
Well, whatever's in the way for them to fix it, they'll move that out of the way.
Yeah.
Or remove it. But as far as the debris across the beach, unless somebody knows differently than I do,
Okay.
Mother Nature is the one that moves it around.
There's some pretty good
But-
pieces there. you know,
Yeah,
put
I'm
the word out.
Yeah.
No one's really supposed to, without permission from the DEP for a specific purpose, no one's really supposed to bring a machine, including the
Right.
town or the state, down
Yeah,
onto
I
the
wasn't
beach
thinking
and
of
start
the
to do whatever they want to do, but
Oh.
federal and state law.
Yeah,
As far as human power, there's nothing that I know of that, you know, if you want to go grab some sticks and create a fire in your house, I don't think there's any. But, or go to the port. Anyway, all right, Jen.
So, getting back to part of the ramp on Pheasants Island, I mean, the work where the pavement meets the work, where does that stand? Because to me, that was way more critical as far as safety goes, and I I'm just wondering why.
So Yarmouth is gonna look at it this week. But they went to look at it and they're coming up with a plan. From what I heard, the plan is probably pour some cement in there, which was probably what was supposed to be done in the first place. Because it's the wood is, the cement's here, the wood's here, and there's a big gap there. I have a picture of it. And it's all underneath the water, just continuously did this. Now there's a gap, so.
So whose responsibility is it? Was it,
Sounds like Tony, they agree.
It is Town of Yarmouth.
did they put a piece of plywood over it? Did they highlight it with some spray paint? I mean, somebody's gonna get their toe caught and go. And
Yeah, I was wondering why we couldn't just paint somewhere.
So would you, I mean, I can grab a piece of plywood, we can kind of go over, put a piece of plywood over it, drill it down, and leave it there till spray painted orange or something, and then put some cones up. That would be my only solution as far as the fix.
Would you mind if I wrote an email from Yarmouth? So this is an email from Yarmouth back to Matt, Ridgway, CTC. This is the Town of Yarmouth Public Works Department, Public Works Director. Hi, Matt. I spoke with my foreman Eric about doing a temporary repair for the winter. I'm going to saw cut the depressed area out and place concrete into the head wall. We will do this next week, this coming week at some point. I will reach out Tuesday and let you know. We will have the area coned off while we are doing it. We will do the best we can to minimize pedestrian and traffic interruption. Best, Kevin E. Proud, Highway Superintendent, Yarmouth Public Works.
Yeah, so as far as if they did something temporary over there, I'm not sure, I haven't been over there.
You know, they're gonna do it this week, and like I said to you when I saw those pictures, I wish that the contractor had done it while they were doing the turnaround, but I think they just paved over what was there, right in that area. And it sounds like they're gonna put some concrete in there, which may or may not have a salt water tolerant mix to it, but at least they'll put a piece of concrete in there to try to keep it from deteriorating further in the future while we plan for maintenance and improvements.
Yeah, I think you might ask CTC to make the hazard more noticeable. I mean, CTC has been communicating with Yarmouth, they're kind of in the driver's seat there. My suggestion is, based on what Jen said, that we just, until it's repaired, we find a way to make sure people see it, which could be a cone, could be painting it, whatever. So I don't think we need to get into the act. I think it'd be better to keep it simple and, you know, suggest to Matt that, you know, there's concerns about the trip hazard right now until it's repaired.
And if they need cones or a piece of
Yeah.
plywood, we can supply it to them.
All right. So I know Matt's out of town, or I think he was going out of town, but, yeah, I mean, if the board wishes, I can always go home and go get a piece of plywood and get it on there.
I don't think.
We'll drill it right in place.
I'm just surprised that CTC hasn't put a cone.
Yeah. I haven't been over there since
I
last
was
weekend,
there,
so I have no
yes,
idea.
yesterday, and it's, I mean, I know it's there, so I avoided it, but I do think it needs a little bit more identification.
Okay,
I mean, but I think we should suggest that to CTC, and I'm sure there's somebody in, you know, at the helm while Matt's away.
John Rent's still around, he's the president.
yeah, okay. All right, anything else?
Well, I just want to say I appreciate you taking the time to do the inventory, because you know, I know it's, you know, took a while, and I think it's worthwhile, and of course, emergency management, Cumberland County Emergency Management wants us to submit this data so we can potentially, the county can qualify. And I think it's a pretty low threshold. I think it was 900,000 for York County, 2 million for the state of Maine. So I
Oh, my
think
goodness.
that's
I
pretty
think Portland
likely.
does that.
It's possible we go through all of this and nothing happens, but
Yeah.
it's worth a try. But I appreciate you taking the time to do it,
Thank you.
and the town crew.
All right. Yes,
Well, I want to add my appreciation to these efforts. And I just have two questions as a citizen should be. What is, and perhaps Vika, you want to answer, what is the chain of command when the town administrator is ill or is on leave? And the second one is when we have a situation that may qualify as a public emergency, what is that chain of command that may be?
so, well, from what I gathered, the chain of command starts with me, and then goes down to the board of selectmen, goes down to Vika, town clerk, and then trickles back from there. So I was not aware of the issue on the other side. Well, I knew there was a hole there for a long time, but I was not aware that it was going worse until later.
My question
So-
doesn't have anything to do with the circumstance that we're facing. It's just a general one, particularly for the second one for emergency response. Are there special duties and a special chain of command for that?
All depends what you classify as emergency. There's an emergency response team or something, I can't remember what it's called. Ralph is the one that manages that. Basically, when the day of the storm, Ralph is pretty much activated. And, you know, goes around and assesses the town as far as damage and stuff like that.
There is a thank you that ought to go out to CMP, which was absolutely extraordinary in the way it came out during the lull in the storm, and also to individuals and probably the town crew and others who were out active moving dangerous materials. It just helps for me to understand how this works.
Kara,
Well, actually, so we're part of the Cumberland County Emergency Management Plan, and our designated emergency management director is the fire chief, Ralph Monroe. And then he is instructed to work with the town administrator to respond to an emergency, but that also includes even this kind of follow-up disaster assessment. And I think in lieu of the town administrator being out of, you know, if they're out of action, I would assume it would be, well, it doesn't really say in this, but I did have a question of who the emergency management team is for the town of Shabik. I know that Ralph is the director, but who else? There should be a group of people that have been identified as the team, and do we know who that is? Do you know, Vika?
It's just, so in these cases, like with this particular storm, Ralph and fire department crew, kind of, he gathers and anybody that's available on the island, Doug Ross, people that are on the fire department, congregate and they make a plan of who are the elderly that need to be visited. So there isn't a list of specific people, but it falls on Ralph and then the fire department and who's around and available to kind of coordinate that. And so the day of the storm, on Friday, I was in the office and the fire department and Ralph were next door. And so Ralph and I sat down and we talked about, you know, are you good? Do you have things handled? And he kind of just updated me on what they're going to be doing and how they have a list of elderly people that they were going to be checking in. And if the power went out or if the power's out for so many days, then they dispatched to Cumberland County to call out every resident on the island up to 3 times. If, you know, if there's no answer, then they'll go and check on them. So I think Ralph and the fire department has a good protocol of what they do in terms of the kind of emergencies, if there's a power outage or if there's a severe storm. So, and then they work with Public Works. So I don't know if that helps.
So it would be helpful for the general public, I think, to know what that is. And where is the shelter that may be brought into place in an emergency operation on the island? We didn't have any So I think these are very good, keep us all safe kinds of information for everyone to know.
That might be just to look at the ordinance and then, update with specific information.
Rather than ordinance, I think it is emergency response team responsibilities and locations.
Well, yeah, we'd have to start at the ordinance and see what it says, so that we don't go against it. And maybe a policy or a,
It's clear, it's clearly spelled out in the ordinance, who the sort of the succession of responsibility. I think we just need to understand ourselves what that is. And, you know, maybe on the website, we can put the emergency response team people on there so that everybody's aware. And I do think that having a kid who was out of power for 5 days, they could not figure out where the warming shelter was in their community. So, we're not alone, but I do think sort of understanding, and that was pretty frustrating, that they couldn't find out where to go. And they went to the public safety building and they were like, no, we don't have one. So I think this storm caught people a little bit by surprise, but if we all are aware of what happened in Buffalo, I think you never know, that could be us. And so I think we need to kind of understand it a little bit better. We all have faith that the thing works, and I think it does, but it might be good to have a little clarity.
yeah.
Now, including not just warming, but having a location where there is a reliable large generator. That is the place that people can resort to. Those, the elderly who may absolutely need that to be able to maintain themselves with oxygen and other survival needs, small children. So I think it's a good thing to get it in hand in a practical way, and then for the public to understand what is available.
The fire department does open up the fire department building and they cook all day, so any fire department, public works or people, but it sounds like it's, a lot of the public may not be aware of that, you know, I think that for such a small community, we do have something like that happens, but maybe more people need to be more aware that on a day of a storm, you can go to the fire department and they have, you know, I mean, the Ross room is not the biggest room, but they do keep the place going in there.
So I
But
do
is
think,
that sufficient for people to stay overnight?
correct, yeah, that's,
The hall falls down to be in those kind of cases, that if you have to have people spend the night, the hall is the designated area for that.
And does it have a generator that would keep it going?
yes. But I think it'd be worth a further conversation, and a little bit of investigating, and then come up with a proper list to answer all those questions. You know, who, what, where, how. And I know now we have the texting ability to text the community. And I think that would be beneficial also, during the storm, send out basically, you need water or whatever, go here.
Right.
And then, yeah, so,
Looking ahead.
all right, any other comments? All right, so back to my original question.
Which was,
Are you guys okay with me and Vika completing this big work and sending it off on Monday?
yeah.
All right, any other roads or anything that you would like me to go look at and would be potentially useful to put on there that you guys can think of? Mark?
This has nothing to do with the physical Big Island infrastructure. And it's nothing that's going to be causing any accidents or problems. But it's my ongoing request to have the one measly little pothole filled over at Cousins Island Access Road, right in the middle of the road, instead covered by someone. I don't believe Yarmouth's going to fill it. If Yarmouth would fill it, that would be fine. I think Shabik could fill it. It's just a little pothole, it's about half the width of the way in. It's been there forever. And it would be nice to see it get filled so someone didn't step in the middle of the night, sprain and break their ankle.
Good, I'll take care of that.
The right of way is not owned by Shabik. It's not owned by the town of Yarmouth. It may be owned by the town of Yarmouth technically, I don't know. It is part of the right of way of the taking of the parking lot, so I don't know the legality of
And I thought this. I
who's
thought
required to
Peter-
maintain it, but
You're
filling a
talking about-
pothole doesn't cost much money.
Hoga Shores Road, Hoga Shores Road, is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
the entrance it's just a pothole, it's big, getting bigger. Just needs to be filled.
All right, any other comments?
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, there's a second. Seconded by Jen. All right, all in favor? All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend, new year. Yeah. Take care of that next year.
It's 14 years. Maybe they will ask to do it.
It seems like.
I